Cool, so we're gonna do some reverse Nordics. So the first variation we're gonna do is just have some support here that we can use to pull ourselves back up. As we come down with a reverse Nordic, we wanna make sure that we're keeping the hips and the shoulder in one line. Now we're not extending through our lower back, we're extending through the hips, and that's why it's so hard. So you really gotta squeeze those glutes as hard as you can. Imagine you're trying to push your hips up in front of you, big stretch on the front of the legs, and then you're gonna use whatever you're using, a band, a strap, a rope. You're gonna use that as little as possible. The more you progress, the less you need to use it. The next variation will be to do an eccentric version. So you go down as deep as you can, and when you feel the need for your hips to break, you will let that happen. So we're gonna try and get less of a back bend, so we don't wanna turn this into a back bridge. We're really trying to keep the extension of the hips here. It's not a bad thing, but it's a separate exercise if we're really extending through the whole spine. We want to focus our extension on the hip, so we really have to work hard at the glute. We're going to break at the hips to come back up because that's a little bit too hard to be able to pull yourself from here back to tall kneeling without going into the lower back extension. And then once we have that, we're really going to try and use or get a concentric version with our own power. So when you're down at the bottom, you really want to think ribs in as hard as you can, squeeze the butt as much as you can, and you're going to almost feel a compression. On the back side, the glutes are pushing in. On the front side, the abs are pulling back, and that's what's allowing Jamie to come all the way up without going into that lower back extension. And keep trying to push. Each rep you might get a little bit further, a little bit further, a little bit further. And worst case scenario, on your next one, you just go for it. You fall into it. That's all that's going to happen, okay? So keep trying to explore your range, and then we can develop more control through that range. Nice.